Welcome back. Now, this troubling new report from the Defense Department that Iranian military personnel are on the ground in Crimea, assisting the Russian military in the war against Ukraine. Russia has been using Iranian-made kamikaze drones to fly explosives directly into targets in Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities. Joining me right now to talk more about this is former Deputy National Security Advisor. She is the author of Revolution. KT McFarland is here. KT, great to have you this weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, Russia and China have been partnering, and now we see Iran also helping Russia kill Ukrainians. What are your thoughts and reaction to what we hear about these kamikaze drones?
Well, you know, this is now the new axis of evil, and their major goal is to replace the United States as a major world power, rewrite the rules of order in the world to their advantage. You know, a lot of this is happening, whether it's the war in Ukraine or Iran having the ability to assist Russia in the war of Ukraine. A lot of it goes back to American energy policy, believe it or not, is because President Biden shutting down the American oil and natural gas industry. What does that do? It makes windfall profits for Russia and for Iran. What are they doing with those windfall profits? Well, in the case of Russia, rebuild its military, invade Ukraine. In the case of Iran, they're going for a nuclear weapons program, and they're now totally in relation to Russia. There's a real symbiotic relationship where the Russians are going to probably help Iran with their nuclear program. Iran is going to help Russia with its war in Ukraine. And meanwhile, we're on the outside.
Wow. You know, there are so many legs to this failed energy policy. And it's true. Energy policy is national security policy. I don't know if the Biden administration understands that. But you say that this next 2-week period is going to be critical for Ukraine.
Yeah, and here's why. There's sort of a number of factors. Right now, Vladimir Putin realizes he can't survive in office without having something to show for this war. So any thought that the people in Washington have of, well, we're going to teach him a lesson, we're going to give him a bloody nose, he's going to have to concede, he's going to have to leave Ukraine in humiliation, that's not going to happen. Vladimir Putin will escalate before he allows that to happen. Maybe he doesn't escalate to nuclear weapons, but there's a lot of stuff he can do. He could have cyber attacks against the West. He could cut the undersea, the cables, communications cables going to Europe. There's a lot he can do short of nuclear weapons. And he's got to do something to sort of change the dynamic. The next 2 weeks are important, because in the next 2 weeks, the United States, NATO allies, we're having a routine military exercises. So are the Russians. The opportunity, the possibility of one little thing going wrong, somebody making a mistake, and the Russians responding by escalating is what I'm really worried about. You know, the Russian doctrine says that if you're losing, escalate to de-escalate. So if Vladimir Putin can point to anything and say to his people, see, I told you this was really NATO attacking America. He wants that escalation because it allows him to rally his people around the Russian flag in a war that is not going well and is increasingly unpopular in Russia.
Well, it just appears that all of our adversaries are on the march, and it all happened after the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. I want to pivot to China because President Xi is gaining a third 5-year term as leader of China's Communist Party. The Party Congress is going to finish up this week. What do you take away from that? And will we see China get even more provocative after this Party Congress? I know that there are right now, as we speak, Chinese police throughout the United States. There's one police station that I know of in New York where the CCP members are there with surveillance programs and trying to ensure that even if you're Chinese American, you could be an American, but with Chinese background, you better get on board with the CCP narrative.
Yeah, now what's happened is that Xi Jinping is this unprecedented, historic third term. He's effectively been elected emperor for life. He now has no constraints. And I think what you'll see is Chinese foreign policy, Chinese domestic policy, Chinese security policy, Chinese economic policy on steroids. This is his window of opportunity to reclaim Taiwan. It's a historic goal of the Chinese Communist Party. He wants to make it happen while he's in office. But the other thing he wants Taiwan for, Maria, is economic, because Taiwan, that's where, 95% of the world's chips are made. That he can control the world economy if he controls the Taiwan economy. And then finally, militarily, Taiwan is the key to China dominating the whole Western Pacific, the entire region, which is the world's most important maritime route. And I think Xi Jinping, he now has no brakes on. He has no brakes domestically. He has no brakes in foreign policy. And the United States is now distracted with a problem in Europe and Ukraine.
Well, unfortunately, this president keeps rolling over for the CCP. We know these surveillance programs are in place. They're even surveilling American citizens. And yet, what does this president do? He cancels the China initiative back in February of 2022 in the Trump administration, where you were taking national security issues quite seriously. You had this China initiative where you could investigate surveillance, investigate intellectual property theft. Why cancel it?
You know, this is a really key point that most people have missed. The Biden administration comes in, and there was a very good unit of the U.S. government that was looking into Chinese spying of taking critical infrastructure technology and taking it back to China. The Biden administration comes in and says, well, we think that's discriminatory. It's a really bad idea. So they cancel it. So if you're a Chinese spy in America, nobody's stopping you. And at the same time that American cities are defunding our police, the Chinese are funding their police corps that is in American cities. And as you said, their goal is to tell the Chinese people who are Chinese Americans or Chinese nationals, you have to do what we say. And if you don't do what we say, you've got family and relatives back in China. And the other thing is China passed a national security law a couple of years ago to say that any ethnic Chinese citizen has to cooperate with the Chinese military, the Chinese intelligence services, or they face charges of treason and potential execution. I mean, that's how tough the Chinese are getting, even on Chinese who are not on their own shores.
Well, maybe he wants payback for all the money that the Biden family has taken in. I mean, that's why we asked the question, is this president compromised? These are very serious decisions. KT, we're going to keep a spotlight on this. We so appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Maria.